Here's a quick revision of Sohcahtoa. Sohcahtoa is about right angled triangles. Pythagoras is about right angled triangles. What differs is that Sohcahtoa is about right angled triangles that have a mix of side and angle information. So for example, I want to find this angle. That's information. It's not concrete information, but it's definitely information, like the angle is relevant. And let's say that's 5 and that's 7. So that's a mix of side and angle business. Or how about this? X, 10, 20. That's a mix of side and angle information. And how about 5, Y, 30. Okay, well, the key thing to getting Sohcahtoa on the right track is to remember that the working always looks the same, always the same. It's button, angle equals fraction. Button, we'll choose that in a second. Angle equals fraction. And button, angle equals fraction. Okay. Now, how do you choose the button? There's 3 possibilities for it. The ones you've always seen on the calculator: sine, cos, and tan. Well, the way you choose the button is by thinking of the code names for the sides that have made it into the question. This side hasn't made it into the question, nor has this, nor has this. Okay. So that's what I mean by the sides that have made it into the question, the sides that are relevant. Okay, the easiest one to do the code name for is the longest side. It's opposite the right angle. That is always called H. So the H is relevant here, it's an X. The H is irrelevant here because it's blank. And the H is relevant here, it's a 5. Next easiest to label is the opposite. The opposite just means opposite the relevant angle. So here, that's the opposite and it's irrelevant because it's blank. Here, the 5 is the opposite. Opposite just is the ordinary English meaning of opposite. It means on the other side from. Here's an X, here's a side, they're opposite each other. And this Y is relevant, and that's the opposite. Now, adjacent just means next to the angle. There's 2 sides that are next to the angle, but one of them has already been called the hypotenuse, the longest one. The shortest one is called the adjacent. And now what you do is this. You look amongst the word Sohcahtoa. If what you labelled was the opposite and the hypotenuse, then the button you want is sine. So which one was that? It's this one. If what you labelled was the adjacent and the hypotenuse, as it was here, like the relevant ones, then the button you want is cos. And if what you labelled, like the non-blank ones, was the opposite and the adjacent, then the button you want is tan, as it was here. Now, the sides that made you choose those buttons now go into the fraction. The second letter, or in other words, the first of the 2 code names, it goes on the top of the fraction. So the O is the second letter here, so we put a Y there. The A second letter there, so we put a 10 there. And the O is the second letter there, so we put a 5 on the top there. And the other relevant side goes underneath. Okay, now, this is just red dudes. What's stopping Y being by itself? 5. Just times both sides by 5. Don't get intimidated by sine 30. It's just a number. It's just a decimal. Sine 30 is actually just 0.5. So basically, you're doing 0.5 equals Y over 5 times both sides by 5. You get the answer when you type that in. This one needs a red dude first. Times both sides by X. We now have X timesing by a mystery decimal. Now we divide both sides by this mystery decimal. Type that into a calculator, get the answer. And this one, you can't do red dudes on that. Tan is not a number. You cannot divide both sides by tan. There's no such thing as the X button on the calculator, so you can't go tan X. So what you do is you do a trick. You do not type the X, you instead type the other side. But you warn the calculator first that you're typing the wrong side by pressing the Shift button or the second function button, which are usually in orange at the top left of the calculator. It's just a signal to the calculator so it interprets your intention properly. So you go Shift, tan, and then you type this. So you go Shift, tan, 5/7 or 5 divided by 7 in brackets. Then you press equals, and you get the answer. So that's Sohcahtoa. Just a word of wording. Word of warning. You'll always get these wrong unless there's a tiny little D. Up the top of your screen, or a DEG. So there's a DEG there. That means I'm going to get my Sohcahtoa right. If you see an RAD up there, you must change it. Muck around with the mode button or reset it. RAD is death to Sohcahtoa questions. You want that to be a DEG, at least until you get to year 12.